makes Fort Collins so great? If you take a look at the community as a whole and look at things like CSU, the city itself, Poudre Valley Hospital, the school system, the recreational facilities, not only in Fort Collins, but in the area itself, the churches, the involvement of service clubs, the involvement of people with interests, and the ability of those people to just contribute so much time, effort into making the entire community a better place to live. And it's a melting pot, and by combining all of those talents and efforts, we end up a better place to live. How was Fort Collins different when I was mayor? There was less government. It was a smaller city, and there's less government not only in the city, but on the county, state, and federal levels. The other difference was probably no TV. We didn't have the TV. Had a lot of media coverage from the newspapers. In fact, there was 3 or 4 newspapers in town that covered all the council actions and city and county. It was a growing community. Most of the people came from someplace else. Therefore, worked together, learned together, and I've always said it was one of the things that made Fort Collins a friendly community from the standpoint you had to become involved, whether it be with your church or a service group or volunteerism or something, in order to get to know people. And I know my wife and I and our children, when we came out, got very involved with the school systems because of the kids, and met some tremendous people through that aspect. The other aspect of when I was on council, the council members were elected by the entire city, although they had to live within a district, which is different today. Council really worked together because we also did all of the planning and zoning issues and became very involved in what was happening and what was the future of the community. That hands-on knowledge and participation really made a lot of difference, I think. I don't think there was, as proudest moment as a mayor, I don't think there was a single item. It's a combination. I had been involved with the old DT squared downtown development and so forth. But to see things started or completed, things like this city hall that we're sitting in today, Lincoln Center, the downtown library, some of the parks and the recreation, all of that just contributed to the city and its growth and the interest of people themselves getting involved in the different aspects. It was always fun to see all of the people working together really for the betterment of the community. And that just did all of us a lot of good. Oh, the greatest challenge I faced as mayor was hiring a new city manager. No question about that one. We had 100 applicants, well, over 100 applicants. And the council itself developed the criteria and went through each and every applicant, narrowed it down rather quickly to about 25, then narrowed that down to 10, then narrowed it down to 6. Out of the 6, we invited all of them to Fort Collins, and there was 2 people that were outstanding out of the 6. We ended up hiring one of them, but the entire process was very congenial. Everybody on council participated, and it just got accomplished, and we missed our timeline by about 2 weeks. And I thought that was a tremendous accomplishment. Fondest memory while I was on council was probably the fact that the council was a very diverse group, politically, philosophically, idea-wise, but we all worked together. And while we sometimes agreed to disagree, it was congenial enough that we could all talk to each other. We could accomplish what was, we hoped, best for the community as a whole. But probably one of the greatest accomplishments was years afterwards, when all of us were off council, we all remained very close friends. And that's true even today. And that, I think, speaks to the group as a whole. And we're still politically and philosophically diverse, even today. Going back to the fondest memories of serving on council, probably one thing that I missed was the support of my wife and the support of my children, because they really contributed to our home life. The other thing was the rapport and development of friendships within the city employees, within the people in the community. Some of that transcends even today, 30 years later. The other thing was I worked for Woodward Governor Company, and it was never a question of how much time or effort I could take, and they allowed my management duties at Woodward to slip, shall we say, in order to work for the city. And there was never any hesitation. The issues that were long-term impact for Fort Collins: Joe Wright Reservoir, Platte River Power Authority, College Avenue, redevelopment of the downtown College Avenue. That was also one of the things when I was mayor. I used to walk every Saturday morning down there when they were doing the construction and talk to all of the owners of the businesses. That gave me some of my gray hair, I think. But Parks and Recreation was another thing that we concentrated on and planned ahead. When a new development came in as a request from planning and zoning or by a developer, and we established a minimum requirement for parks and recreation acreage, what type it would be, whether it would be a mini park or a large one, and so on and so forth. The other aspect, I happened to sign the contract for cable TV when it first came to town with Columbine and so forth. And I'm never sure whether that was a good or a bad decision. One of the things I've always proposed is take a look backwards 25 years. Where you were at, what you were doing, how you were doing it. Take a look at today and ask yourself the question of how did you get there? Then take a look forward 25 years and try to determine what you want to be in 25 years. Now, that's difficult because the crystal ball gets awful cloudy going out that far. But unless you set some of those goals or ambitions and then ask yourself, once you have established those goals, how are you going to get there? And just take it step by step. It's not an easy process, and it does change. Will you make some mistakes? Yes, absolutely. But without some vision, you'll make tremendous mistakes that are sometimes irreparable. One of the large concerns I have personally is open space. If you go back 1993, City of Fort Collins owned about 7,000 acres of open space. Today we own 42,000 acres of open space. That's larger than the footprint of the City of Fort Collins. And we live in a county that's almost 50% federal lands. That concerns me because I think down the road, long after I'm gone, that might be the 800-pound gorilla that's going to cause us some problems. Well, when you start looking at what the issues are going to be in 25 years, water certainly, the population growth, the regional areas. We're not isolated. And then where do you want to be in 25 years as a, and I'll say not only Fort Collins, but the entire area community, because it does that. When you start asking about 100 years from now, I don't have a clue. Reminds me when I was in high school, my parents got their first black and white TV, got a signal from Chicago, which was 90 miles away. There was about 3 stations. It was fuzzy, black and white, and so forth. Nowadays, my wife and I, we sit back on Skype and talk to our son and his wife and our 2 grandchildren that live in Germany and think nothing of it. You know, what's 100 years going to be? Amazing. When you try to get ahead of the curve on things like development and so on and so forth, I think the best thing you can do is study what other people have done in other communities that have been successful. Now that success in their areas might be different from what's available here. For instance, I always used to kid people, if you go west of the Mississippi, you've got an entirely different topographical map, weather-wise and everything else. You go east of the Mississippi and they say water is a problem. But you can certainly pick and choose what other communities have done and done well. Learn from them. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything.